Hi everybody, welcome back. Great to be with you again, and I'm so sorry it's been like 3 weeks. Just have so much going on at the moment, starting a new job and things like that, and trying to catch some sun, seeing as it don't come about too often. But yeah, today I wanted to take a look at basically light workers and the religion of Lucifer, which seems to be going ahead by storm. It's been around for a few decades, if not longer, in different forms, but it's been known as light workers now for at least a decade. I looked into this about a decade ago, and at the time when I was a globe believer, it seemed to give off information that was beyond what I knew, and it tied in with the conspiracy theories about aliens and stuff like that, and it all seemed to not make sense, but seemed to have something more to it than the mundane stuff of the world that we knew. So I looked into it quite a lot, and I paid attention to what I was hearing and reading, and they often slipped up by creating predictions, but then never having them fulfilled or seen through, and then coming up with excuses later, kind of like how things happen in this world today. So I got to a point where I realised there was something off with that, and yeah. So basically, this was the basic website that I used to read a lot of the channels from. They seem to, in the past, they seem to have hundreds and hundreds of people posting their channels daily. And when I say channels, I don't mean like YouTube channels. These people are channeling spirits, and they claim they're spirits from other planets and stars, when in fact they're just channeling dead spirits of Earth. And they're saying like star seeds, rainbow seeds, indigo children, they're all coming out and being born over the 80s and 90s and 2000s. It's just utter BS if you think about it, because we're all the same. The people that were born 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, we're all humans, and we're not from other star systems, we're humans from here. Do you know what I mean? But the kind of things they talk about is all about the stars, like the moon and the star signs and that. They're worshipping the creation rather than the creator, and they're putting their worship to ascended masters from planets like Pleiades, Orion, and all that. And it's absurd. It's really absurd. I mean, it's convincing to people that believe in deception, like the globe and that. It kind of fits into it, but once you realise the Earth is flat, you can see through everything. You can see through it all. So yeah, you get different people talking about different things, but they're all about love and light and raising vibration and meditation. And don't get me wrong, all these things indeed are good, but constantly preaching them out is kind of like a worship to them. And technically, how does one raise their vibrations, and how does one give light in a world where we are basically using the 10% of our brain? We're unable to do things beyond survival instinct. So how does one raise a vibration and stuff? And turning from a sad state to a happy state isn't raising your vibration. It's changing the chemical disposition in your body to make you feel different. You're not actually raising your vibration. So people that are often saying these sayings are inadvertently falling into the belief system of the Luciferians, the light workers. Excuse me. So I just thought I'd bring all this out. I know this is not gonna be what a lot of people want to hear, and it does kind of, excuse me, does kind of sound all fancy with its kind and lovely words and stuff, but even that was in the Bible. Who can, something about the sweet words of the Pleiadians, or loose the bands of Orion. But this was one of the guys out of all the channels of the Lightworkers that I used to read often. This Sheldon Nidle, he used to release an article on a weekly basis, and I first started reading his stuff like 10 years ago roughly, and I'm going to read this now. I don't know if you can see the screen. Let's see if I can zoom it in. But just remember, I'm not reading this to promote it. I'm reading it so you can understand where I'm coming from and where people are going today. Right, so here we go. I'll explain stuff after I've read it. Selamat Jarin. Your world continues to move forward with the manifesting of the new financial system. This system is to reduce or eliminate the stealing that was common under the old system. In addition, several adjustments are to be made that make money laundering practically impossible. Transparency in all kinds of transactions is to be the rule of the day. In the coming weeks, we expect a great number of deliveries to occur. Thus, the time for you to receive your blessings is fast approaching. This grand transfer of wealth is to lead quickly to the downfall of the cabal and its many hidden associates. Thus, new governance under the aegis of Nasara is not very far off. These facts allow us to know that our period of announcements is swiftly approaching. This means as well that your needed lessons by the ascended masters are looming. Many of you have patiently waited for the time which is now upon you. Others have occasionally succumbed to the rigour of this prolonged wait. In any case, remain positive and be joyous for what is happening around you. Time is approaching. At last, let go and begin the many projects to aid humanity. Long ago, before the last two great cycles began, Lemuria reigned supreme as the benevolent steward of Gaia and her numerous ecosystems. Lemuria had spread across planet Gaia to soothe and turn positive the energies who governed the surface realm. When those dedicated souls went inward and established the inner global land, that inner language became the realm of Argatha. Our settlers had made Gaia an inner surface realm paradise filled with endless animal and plant life forms. About 300,000 years ago, a group of special settlers migrated here from the Pleiades. This group was a remnant of a whole section of rebels who had come to believe that being the mediator between dark Ankarian continuum and another group that has oppressed them was a useful means for spreading light in this galaxy. This belief had become somewhat perverted by the time they first arrived. As with previous settlers, they initially chose to surface territory upon which become acclimated to the life of Gaia. First stage was the last for an unusually long period of nearly 250,000 years. So I will read the second part of this in a second. I'll just talk about this first. So this particular essay, speech, writing, whatever, I think I saw it yesterday when I found it, is about 7 years old, and it's saying that Nasara is imminent. And when I first started reading these about 10 years ago, it was saying the exact same thing. 3 years later, when this particular article came out, same thing. And I'm sure if you go and read up-to-date stuff now, if it's releasing stuff still, it will say the exact same stuff. That Nasara is just about here, that everything's going great, everything's good. In other ones, it also talks about the coming of the aliens and the Ascended Masters to stand on the earth and to teach people how to live again. There's a point of this because there's something else I want to talk about, and I think it was in the second half. But as you can see, these are pretty words talking about the planet, and pretty words don't necessarily, just because they're pretty and they're, they say things that you want to hear, it doesn't mean that they're right. Even Satan himself turned into an angel of light. So let's just read this quickly, because I think it's in here that I'll just read it. By this time, the first of the last two great galactic years had passed. The Lemurians knew what heaven decreed and intended to carry out the last prescribed edicts of heaven. The Atlanteans sensed that an action was near to create two realms, an inner one and a surface one. The Atlantean destiny was to rule the surface one, and the Ankaran continuum made it point to contact the Atlanteans, gradually allow them to believe that the righteousness of what they had wrought. Gaia was slowly maneuvered into a position that forced it to lower her energies. During the last Atlantean Empire, over 15,000 years ago, a scourge began to spread across the face of Gaia's surface. The Ankarans were setting up a scenario for the rise of a limited consciousness human, as well as the untimely end of Atlantis and her allies. This was to lead to the liberation of these special humans from protected residencies and creation of a new group of overlords, the Anunnaki. This new group was to watch over them and at the right time to abandon them. The light was then to return and restore these humans to their natural state of full consciousness. We gave you this brief history so you can put these present times in the right perspective. What the Earth Allies are doing is finishing the process that commenced with the Minions, refusing to see the departure of the Anunnaki as a portent of things to come. The light was supported those who wished to oppose the dark since the conclusion of World War II. Together with the Ascended Masters and the Agarthans, we helped this group of enlightened ones. The labour of this decades-long struggle is now ready to bear fruit. The coming time is to see the rise of the new financial system, properly backed currencies, and a series of new governments. This is truly just the beginning. Ahead of you is our arrival, meeting your mentors and receiving the wise lessons of your Ascended Masters. All of this is eventually to culminate in the transformation that is to happen. This is the bit I was waiting for. During your 3 days in your assigned crystal light chamber. As the old adage goes, this was the worst time of the times and the best of the times. Look forward in bold anticipation to a most marvellous future of this world and for you. Right, excuse me. So, because I can't be bothered to go and read thousands of these deceptive articles again, that was enough for me to say. So, one of the things that not just Sheldon Nidle and the demon or the spirit he's channeling or whatever, but a number of people are talking about these crystal light chambers. And apparently what you've got to do is they're underground and each person alive has one assigned to them and a specific one. And they say that you go and lay in the crystal light chamber for 3 days and you come out emitting light like Adam was in the garden before he was sent to Earth. So, I mean, it's just crazy. Basically, God took away the light from Adam because he sinned. And if he was to live eternally with that light, with a sinful nature, he'd never be able to grow and to learn and to be a better person. But fortunately, God took away that light and gave him a chance to live and die and be reborn again. In the hope that he will learn to repent from his sins and to actually improve himself and do better in life rather than the opposite. But yeah, it's just funny. It's just like Martin the other day found all this stuff that the Jesuits books were releasing about people who used to be emitting light, and that in the images it was showing that little people were in like test tubes as like light bulbs and stuff. It's really quite strange. I've never seen it before, but it does tie in with this, which is the Luciferian beliefs of what's coming in the new times ahead with their new world religion of light workers, or Luciferianism. And yeah, they're going to tell people to go into these chambers underground and stay in them for 3 days, and whilst you're in them, apparently you can't see anything. It's just a bright light, and you just lay there, kind of like, I suppose, on a sunbed or whatever. And yeah, you come out 3 days later and you're in the 5th dimension. So all these people saying that they're raising their vibration and they're feeling differently, technically you're still the same person. You haven't jumped into another dimension. We're all here still. It's kind of like if I'm playing my computer and I'm a character on the screen, that character on the screen is me in every sense, because if I turn him left, he turns left. If I make him climb the wall, he climbs the wall. But he can't see anything or understand anything outside of the game other than I am him. So he is a limited version. The character on the game is a limited version of me that can only think as I do within the parameters of the game. Much like how our spirits are not of this world, but our physical bodies are. So where our spirits are could see and understand things at a much more different level, much greater level than us as the character in the game. I'm not saying that this is a game, but I'm just using the analogy of the computer game to make it make sense. So in order to ascend, as you will, it would not take it would not take ascended masters and people claiming to be from other planets. Their technology wouldn't do this, affect us. It would be the creator himself raising our vibration in the same manner that he lowered it. As Jesus said, no man can shut the doors that he opens, and no man can open the doors that he closes. And if it's our time of judgment for 5,000 or 6,000 years rather to not have that light emitted from us, then so be it. But yeah, if you want to find out more stuff about Sheldon Nidle, that's the guy, and he's been doing this for 9 years, 10 years. But you can, I didn't actually watch his videos, I actually read his articles. But yeah, he's got loads and loads of articles. He used to release like one every single week. Like I say, I'm not promoting this stuff. This is the New World Order religion coming into play, and it has been for decades. And the reason I'm bringing this all out now is because I've started noticing over the past month or so that a number of channels that I've been watching are openly rejecting the Bible and Jesus, and whether they're conscious or aware of it or not, are inadvertently worshipping this new age religion by preaching what it says. And I just wanted to try and hopefully wake people up before people fall too far down the wrong way, because ultimately this is utter bullshit, all of it. And if you're a flat earther, you'll be able to see through it, because every single one of them talks about the planet and the inner earth and stuff that just, once you're a flat earther, you can see through it all. So all these starseed stuff, you know, it's crazy because there's so many people involved in all this stuff around the world now. It just shows how deceived a lot of people are lately, and how much more we need to put out effort in. So when I was reading with this Sheldon Nidle stuff, another channel came about called AtlanticoBR, or AtlanticoBR, and this one's been around for 12 years. But this came out with some crazy knowledge and information, and it was claiming that this was an alien with the reptile all-seeing eye on it. And it claimed that this was an alien, and if you go through the videos, it's literally like, you know, when Star Wars starts, you've got the text that floats up and disappears into the distance. It's basically videos like that, and just answering questions and stuff, except for these ones here. But all these ones are just text and questions. Excuse me. And there's a lot of them, and it's all about different star systems, different planetary systems, different. Apparently, we, according to this, we are in the universe, in the galaxy. We're in an area that's in the middle of like a space motorway. So all of the other aliens from all of the other planets are constantly just coming past here and know of us, but they've been told to stay away from us because we're a young civilization. And it just goes on and on and literally on and on and on, and it's been going on for years. And anyone that can't see through it clearly would be deceived by it. But you know, when you put together everything, you'll see that there's discrepancies, as always with everything that's a lie. You find the discrepancies in it. So another thing was the Galactic Federation of Light. So this is apparently the name of the aliens and the UFOs that are watching us from outside of the Van Allen belt. It's just, oh mate, it's just so crazy when you think about it now. But back in the day, you know, people that don't know no better, it seems like new knowledge. But when you know the truth, you know, it is crazy. So I'm going to run out of battery. Yeah, so Galactic Federation of Light are the spaceships that are watching us and ready to come down to save us from ourselves. Just insane. But this stuff's been going around once again for decades. And here's someone channeling from another planet, an alien that has all this time, all these thousands of aliens that have been channeled by all these thousands of people, all have the time to sit around and do this. I don't even know why I'm trying to make it sound like they've got time when in reality they're not even real. So I just give up with that. So Galactic Federation, yeah, it's just messages of good news to people in light, and it's not good news because it's not true. I mean, don't get me wrong, it does sound good, but when you see through deception, you know, it's not so good anymore. So getting on to it, Charlie Ward, he's basically partook in bringing about the Antichrist that I revealed a couple of months ago, and since then seen him kind of blow up quite a lot. And in fact, he's kind of disappeared a bit now as well. However, he did do a video about a week ago, and he was claiming that, you know, he's already done 2 things acting as the King of England. But, you know, clearly he's talking shit because he's still not on the TV, he's still not been announced as this person. But ultimately, I still stand by what I say, that he's going to be, in Book of Revelation. He's going to be someone in there. You know, whether the Antichrist is the Caliphate rising in Turkey, or if it is a Western world king claiming to be king of most of the world, who knows? But I mean, I'm still kind of standing with this guy being the deceiver, because he's already trying to claim himself as king to countries when he's not even the king of one country officially yet. And he's out there creating his own documents that self-proclaim him to be this person that's entitled to the world. And whenever you see him talk, there's nothing in there about other people and the goodness of people. It's all about himself and how everything ties into him being proclaimed as the coming Messiah, which is obviously false. This guy, anyway, guy that lives in Spain, Charlie Ward, he, before 3 months ago, had no subscribers at all, and in like 3 months he's gone up 97,000 subscribers. It's unbelievable. And he is a guy that he lives in Spain, he's wealthy, always has been, and his job is to move large amounts of money into Egypt and out of Egypt, or something like that, or around the East anyway. And he's very vague in what he talks about. He calls himself doctor, but when in one of his videos he was asked what kind of doctor he is, he's a psychologist. So sometimes I'll see him in videos wearing an army suit and stuff. He's just an egotistical person, and he is obsessed with Q. And as with all of this, Q and Nasara and light workers is all a part of the agenda. Trump's with it all as well. So yeah, if you wanted to see the latest video of the Antichrist, go onto Charles Ward's channels. Not that I'm promoting this guy, I'm just trying to reveal to you that this deception is blowing up everywhere really fast. But this is the latest video, Zoom with the King. He talks about himself, obviously, as he always does. And, you know, by the sounds of it, he's still talking about things like, in one instance in that video, he's talking about how the Magna Carta is false and not right and never was signed by the originator, the king, whoever it was, a few generations back. So therefore, basically America's running on a lie, and he spoke to Trump and encouraged Trump to change the Magna Carta. So he claims in this video, and then a bit later he's saying that, you know, he's met Trump once before. I mean, if you've met someone once before, how can you bring out such a topic, you know, change the Magna Carta? Makes no sense, you know. Clearly he's been in a position, maybe not in a position of power, but in a position of influence for a long time, and been talking with, you know, he's always hanging around in castles and with royal families and wealthy people. So, you know, of course he's a part of the deception. And he, as I say, I believe he's the Antichrist, because in descriptions I hear of him, he's always happy about, he's always smiling and happy, and he's always about himself, and he's always out to conquer more, and never takes care of what he conquers, but always continues to go out to conquer more. And when you listen to him talk, it's pretty much how it sounds. You know, he's saying that in one of the questions to the other guy, and he's asking Joseph about, excuse me, he's like, you don't seem like the kind of guy that wants to go out and war with everyone. And he's like, no, yeah, just want to make everyone happy and, you know, just be peaceful. And but you can see that he's not, that's the only time he's said something about that. Other than that, everything is about his vanity and about his egotism and about his growth in his self-proclaimed prophecy. That he's saying that everything in the Bible is about him, but he's talking about it like he is like Yeshua HaMashiach, but he even calls himself Christ and HaMashiach. It's unbelievable. But do not be fooled. Do not be fooled by this light worker crap, this Luciferianism, or this New Age agenda, or the Nasara BS that comes with it. All of this is crap. And I mean, how is it this guy is blowing up and becoming ultimately famous with his stuff? And same thing, like all of this religion and stuff was about decades ago. So these people that are now basically acting as hosts of the beliefs, like, you know, these people, they're just taking over from a system that already existed. And as you hear when he talks, he's been put into position. He hasn't walked into it. He has been put in that position, just like the Antichrist does not stand in the power of himself, but, you know, he's handed power, and the beast is the system, and he's been going to be handed the system. The Queen's already stood out of her home at Buckingham Palace to allow it. So yeah, there's the Zoom meeting if you wanted to watch what he's got to say. But to finish off this video, I just wanted to go through some scriptures from the Book of Adam and Eve. Only a couple of bits, there's not much on here, but it talks about the light and how we were of the light and how we will basically become of the light again, but not under the deceptive means that I've just mentioned. So, on the third day, God planted a garden in the east of the earth, on the border of the world eastward. So I'll just make that bigger. The border of the world eastward, beyond which, towards the sun rising, one finds nothing but water that encompasses the whole world and reaches unto the borders of heaven. In the north of the garden is a sea of wafer of water, clear and pure to the taste, like unto nothing else, so that the clearness thereof one may look into the depths of the earth. And when man washes himself in it, it becomes clean of the cleanness thereof, and the white of the whiteness, even if he were dark. And this is the water that, after Yeshua comes, all those that he chooses to have mercy and forgiveness upon, they will all go with the angels, Archangel Michael, and will be baptized in this water and will be cleansed. Their auras will be cleansed. They will once again, you know, emit light, and will have no darkness in them anymore. and they will return to their full activity rather than the limited brain activity we live in now of survival instinct. Excuse me. And God created that sea of his own good pleasure, for he knew that he would come of the man and he should make, so that after he had left the garden, on account of his transgression, men should be born in the earth, from among whom righteous ones should die, whose souls God would raise at the last day, when they should return to the flesh and bathe in the water of that sea, and all of them repent of their sins. But when God made Adam go out of the garden, he did not place him on the border of it northward, lest he should draw near to the sea of water. And he and Eve wash themselves in it and be cleansed of their sins, and forget the transgression that they had committed. So, any wrongdoings will be wiped from you. So all those that, repent and proclaim Jesus, Yeshua, as the Son of God, when he does come, they will get a chance to be washed in this, and this whole age will be wiped away. You won't remember anything of it anymore. Be in joy and happiness forevermore. And I know that sounds hard to believe to people that aren't believers. Excuse me. But this is exactly what it says, and I know people seem to think that the Bible is a form of indoctrination and control over the people. But after reading all the scripture I can find and the Bible and different versions of it, I can safely say for myself that is not true. No group of men have the intellect to do that. There would be too many slip-ups like you see with everything else. You can see through the fake religion that's coming about. You see through everything. But this has got so many interconnected twinings over time and over so many people. So, I'll stand faithfully strong in the Bible and in God, and I'll happily stand out and speak out openly about this bullshit that is being spread as new gospel and new goodness. In this peace and love and light and raising vibration is also the spirit of disobedience, and you'll find that a lot of these people unfortunately are going to go against what God says. And God says we've got to not love our lives until the end of death, to the end of the world. We've got to be willing to give up our lives if the world turns to shit. Because if they're going to turn everyone alive into slaves, then you either live with the slavery or you stand by, well, let me put it in different ways. You either live on your knees or you die on your feet, So then again, in the southern side of the garden, God was not pleased to let Adam dwell there, because the wind blew from the north and would bring him to that southern side, the delicious smell of the trees in the garden. So, God looked upon them. So basically, when they first get onto Earth, they keep killing themselves because they want to go back. And this is God explaining. And the Lord said to Adam and Eve, "You transgressed of your own free will until you came out of the garden in which I placed you. Of your own free will have you transgressed for your desire for divinity, greatness, and an exalted state, just like the light chambers that the light workers are talking about, and people thinking they're going to raise up to the fifth dimension and raise their vibrations." This is basically the belief that they were going through, Adam and Eve were going through, which we're still going through now, thousands of years later. "Such as I have, so that I deprived you of the bright nature in which you were then, and made you come out of the garden to this land, rough and full of trouble." So this is why God took away the light, because they transgressed. They seek for their own divinity without the help of God, kind of like how people are going to be doing today with this false belief. And it'll be them that won't get what they're looking for. "If only you had not transgressed my commandment and kept my law, and not eaten the fruit of the tree near which I told you not to come." And there were fruit trees in the garden even better than that one. So, I'm just bringing out the bits about the light. "Then Adam wept and said, O God, when we dwelt in the garden and our hearts were lifted up, we saw the angels that sang praises in heaven. But now we do not see as we were used to do. Nay, When we entered the cave, all creation became hidden from us. So in the light, we're using our full capacity, we can see beyond the horizon that our current physical bodies can see. We could probably even see the edge of the firmament, but with this limited state that we're in because of transgression of Adam and ultimately transgressions of all of us, we are unable to see that until we return to it, not by our own abilities, but by the ability of God. Pardon me. God said, "When thou was under subjection to me, thou hast a bright nature within thee. For that reason couldst thou see things afar off. But after thy transgression, thy bright nature was withdrawn from thee, and it was not left to thee to see things afar off, but only near at hand, after the ability of the flesh, for it is brutish." When Adam and Eve heard these words from God, they went their way, praising and worshipping him in a sorrowful heart. Then God, merciful and gracious, looked upon them lying in the water and nigh unto death, and sent an angel and brought them out of the water and laid them on the seashore as dead. And then the angel went up to God to welcome and said, "O God, thy creatures have breathed their last." Then God sent his word unto Adam and Eve, who raised them from the death. And Adam said, after he was raised, "O God, while we were in the garden, we did not require or care for this water, but since we came to this land, we cannot do without it." God said to Adam, "Whilst thou was under my commandment, and wast a bright angel, thou knewest not this water. But after that thou hast transgressed my commandment, thou canst not do without water, wherein to wash thy body and to make it grow. For it is now like that of the beasts, and is in want of water." When Adam and Eve heard these words from God, they wept a bitter cry, and Adam entreated God to let him return into the garden and look at it a second time. And God said to Adam, "I made thee a promise. When that promise is fulfilled, I'll bring you back to the garden, thee and thy righteous seed." So this is talking about how Satan was flung to the earth, and it also has a bigger picture to it about us as well. So I'll just read it out. Then when God, who is merciful and full of pity, heard Adam's voice, he said to him, "O Adam, so long as the good angel was obedient to me, a bright light rested on him and his hosts. But when he transgressed my commandment, I deprived him of that bright nature, and he became dark. When he was in the heavens, in the realms of light, he knew naught of darkness. But he transgressed, and I made him fall from heaven upon earth, and it was this darkness that came upon him. And on thee, O Adam, while in my garden and obedient to me, did that bright light rest also. But when I heard of thy transgression, I deprived thee of that bright light. Yet of my mercy I did not turn thee into darkness, but I made thee a body of flesh, over which I spread this skin, in order that it may bear cold and heat. If I let my wrath fall heavily upon you, I should have destroyed you, and if I had turned you into darkness, it would have been as if I had killed you. But in my mercy I have made thee as thou art. When thou didst transgress my commandment, O Adam, I drove thee from the garden, and made thee come forth to this land, commanded thee to dwell in this cave, and darkness came upon you, and did upon him who transgressed my commandment, which is Satan. Thus, O Adam, has the night deceived thee, is not to last forever, but only for 12 hours, and when the daylight will return. So he's basically saying, yeah, we're created with the light in heaven, and when those in heaven sin, the light is taken from them, and then they're sent here. And Satan and his adversaries were actually sent here on the second day, whereas Adam wasn't actually made until the 6th day. So you can imagine 4,000 years passing by, excuse me, of where Satan and the adversaries are building architecture considered quite fantastic and whatnot. And another thing is, all this time I've noticed lately, all this time I'm spending looking into this stuff is almost like a form of worship. So I need to try and do more about God, because I'm not worshipping the creation. I think it's magnificent, but I'm not worshipping it. And yeah, if you go on Bible studies and look for light, there's endless amounts of stuff about light which can bring great wisdom. Anyway, my channel, my video is going to run out now, and I've got a bad chest, so I can't do this as a second take. But I hope I gave you enough information to look into and consider. Thanks for watching, everyone. God bless. Bye.